Phil, I want to thank you for joining us today on Five Questions With, and wrapping up a tenure as probably the face of the Clay County Fair, at least for the last decade and a half, I guess it's fair to say. You have been Mr. Clay County Fair. Certainly a project that you poured your heart and soul into, without a doubt, and had the help of a lot of eager and volunteers who have wanted to see this, just like yourself, become the greatest county fair in the world. I think we live up to that billing on an annual basis. Talk a little bit about your journey through the fair. How did you become involved in it, and where are you now as it's wrapping up for you?
About 1980, at that time I was the county auditor, had just become the county auditor, and the county treasurer, Bernie Wheeler, who was on the fair board at that time, came in one day to the office and said, "Phil, I would like you to consider working with me." He said, "I've just been appointed as the superintendent of commercial exhibits at the Clay County Fair, and I would like you to come work with me." We had worked together for a period of time. Actually, I'd worked with his wife as judicial magistrate, and then Bernie had been instrumental in helping to get the auditor's position for me. And so when he came and asked me if I wanted to become involved with the fair, I jumped at the opportunity. It wasn't, I did ask my wife, but that was the only thing, and I knew how she would respond, and so it was more of a thing of, "Honey, guess what I've got, and guess what I'm going to be able to do on it," and she jumped right on board. And so it was something that I think of this every so often. It really was amazing to me because I didn't have at that point really a fair heritage, but I did have a love of the fair, in that I had probably one of the few people that was in Vietnam that on my R&R, I went over to Thailand and went to the fairs in Thailand. And so with that, I've always had a love for the fair and for the fair, what it does for people. And so once I got that opportunity, I said, absolutely, I'll do it.
What have been some of your fondest memories of the fair during your tenure here as the secretary and kind of the director for what's going on here?
So many in a lot of ways. Probably several directions on it. On the big scale of things, looking at the big picture of it, to be able to add to the quality of life, and that's probably kind of a catchphrase, but to be able to add options to people, and especially the people that live in the area and in the region, because in a lot of ways we are remote here in some ways from the big cities and things, and be able to bring things. And a lot of the things we do, say it's this year we had wild-about monkeys, and we've had the elephants and the tigers, but not only that, to bring so many different things to people here so that they can see and do things here. Be able to add to the quality of life, and be able to make memories for people on a big scale has been awfully important to me. It also reaches a level that with the family, you can't do much better in terms of your children or your grandchildren, and to have them out here, to have them the first day of the fair, to be excited about the fair, and to be able to go through the fair and every day be excited. And this is kind of something that's kind of, this is true. When I got married back in '73, I probably, for my father and mother-in-law at that time, I don't know if I would have been in their top 10 choices even, and so I think that with that, I think they didn't know what they were getting on it, and to be able to then have it now to the point where my mother-in-law at 80-some years of age, I don't want to give away her age, but I think she proudly says that, to have her out here every day, to be part of the fair, and to have the excitement of it, and to have her so proud of the things we do. I think that's been a great accomplishment, or not a great accomplishment. It's been just a great addition to my life on it. And if I have time real quickly, I'll tell you a funny story. You kind of, Jesse James, when Jesse James was here, and we picked him up over by the event center, and I gave a group of them a golf cart ride over here, and I didn't know which one was Jesse. I'll be honest, I didn't know. It was a bunch of guys, and so I said at the time, should we go to down in the Harley Davidsons are down there, and should we go down and see them? And the guy later found out was Jesse. Said, no, we don't want to lead Jesse to a life of sin on the thing. And so that was kind of fun. And we got then over to the U.S. Cellular Plaza, and when we went there, at that point, we went inside and we did the salsas. And there was the mild, and there was the medium, and there was the hot salsas. And some of those salsas would kind of, were really pretty hot on it. So right at that time, just as we were doing that, and Jesse was in sampling, and I was too, a young man called me aside and said, I need to talk to you for a moment. And he said, is it okay if I ask your daughter for her hand in marriage? And so I said, yes. In fact, he is her husband now, a great husband. But it brought a tear to my eye, and so I've got tears running down my eyes. I go back in there, and Jesse looks at me and said, it isn't that hot on that thing, and I had the tear come. So be able to have that, and be able to have so many of my family memories, to be able to center around the fair has been a very positive thing.
How important have volunteers been to you in the community of making your vision for this fair come true?
Well, I think what people have to realize is that in a lot of ways, if you look at it, and when I was at Iowa State University, and they were talking about the bumblebee theoretically couldn't fly, but somehow its wings go fast enough, and it goes, even though it flies. There shouldn't be, and when we go out and talk about the Clay County Fair, and literally up in Canada, when I spoke up there several times throughout the United States, they always introduced me the same way. Coming from a community of 11,000 people in a county of 17,000, in an area where the biggest city is 85 miles away or so, to have this type of thing, to be here in this area, and the people that come here is like a butterfly, or I'm sorry, like the bumblebee. It shouldn't be able to fly. How does it fly? Volunteers. The volunteers, the people, and it's volunteers, and it's people that love the fair. It's a community that loves the fair, and it's also, and this is something that's kind of and I tell other people, so what I say to you, your back, I'm going to say your face now on it too. It's also a situation where the media is so supportive, and the media is so helpful here. And you go to communities not that far away from here where the situation is reversed, and the fairs that should be able to really do the job, and communities of larger sizes can't do it. Why here? It's because it's support of the people, it's support of the businesses and the media and the service groups, and who backs those up, and who does so many of the things for each one of those volunteers. And so this is a volunteer-driven fair, and without it, it couldn't make it. But with it, that bumblebee flies.